Sneako got on stream with Abba the other day and completely lied on black people.
Asians in New York were getting attacked a lot on the train. The uncomfortable truth that people weren't acknowledging is that the majority of the hate crimes were from black people. But the reason they didn't say that is because it doesn't fit the narrative that whites are the oppressor.
He falsely accused the black community of committing hate crimes against the Asian community during the pandemic. And he didn't have any proof, facts, or statistics to back up his false claim.
The issue I have is that there's no facts to back it up. There's no actual proof of it.
Blacks are overrepresenting violent crime in America based off that.
Okay,
FBI crime.
even if that's true, just because they might do that, does that mean that they do most of the mass shootings? No.
And when Abba called him out on it, he refused to admit that he was wrong or made a mistake, refused to take accountability, and kept trying to change the basis of the argument to prove his points.
So wait, are you saying that, so you think that blacks are the ones who commit most of the crimes against Asians?
Most of the crime during the Stop Asian Hate post-COVID, most of these attacks were it was like majority black people, but they weren't discussing it.
And this is another example of Sneako being willfully ignorant and a useful idiot for white supremacists by regurgitating racist narratives. Which is why it's so weird to me that he claims that Malcolm X was his hero.
How did Malcolm X play a role in your faith journey?
I read the Malcolm X autobiography when I was about 11 or 12 years old, maybe 10. My dad gave me that book. I really loved that book. Loved seeing his life story, the way he wrote, and also that transformation.
But I'm Jew, welcome to the channel. Please like and share the video. Don't forget to sub. Now, let's get into it.
Well, the Stop Asian Hate stuff was actually funny because post-COVID, Asians in New York were getting attacked a lot on the train. But, well, it's not funny, but the uncomfortable truth that people weren't acknowledging is that the majority of the hate crimes were from black people. But the reason they didn't say that is because it doesn't fit the narrative that whites are the oppressor.
He's saying the majority of hate crimes committed against the Asian community is by the black community. That's just factually not true.
So people were, I would go to these Stop Asian Hate things, and because old Asian ladies were getting attacked, getting pushed into the train track, but they weren't talking about like that it was mostly black people doing it because they didn't want to seem like they were racist.
Did I miss that? Y'all can let me know if I missed that. I know COVID feels like it was 20 years ago, but during COVID, was it black people attacking the Asian community? If so, that's new to me.
Which was, I'm able to point it out because I'm a lot of different races, and you know, I don't get criticized or scrutinized for being racist as much as other people.
Yes, you do. Sneako is racist against black people.
Get silenced that way. But like I said, I try to be as truthful as I can be. And I don't say that I would take pride in it because pride is it's just that this is what I'm supposed to do. Like
He just said that with no facts. He just literally said black people committed the majority of hate crimes against the Asian community. With no facts, no statistics, nothing to back him up, which is what these red pill MAGA right-wing debaters do. They just throw shit out there and people can't fact check or push back in real time. And I see Abba type it. I hope that's what he's doing, actually fact checking this statement because it's not true. But they just throw shit out there. That's what Charlie Kirk did. He would just throw shit out there, not have stats. If he did have stats or facts, it was skewed in his argument's favor. It's bullshit though. Sneako can't just throw that out there and not elaborate or not have a stat behind it. Where did that come from?
Say anything untrue. I try my best to tell the truth.
So wait, are you saying that, okay, I actually didn't know this part. So you think that blacks are the ones who commit most of the crimes against Asians?
Most of the crime during the Stop Asian Hate post-COVID, most of these attacks it was like majority black people, but they weren't discussing it. When they were saying Stop Asian Hate.
I don't think that's true. Hold on. I know we can't just go off this. This is obviously a quick Google, but based on available analyzed data from 2020 and 2021, white perpetrators committed the majority of anti-Asian hate crimes during COVID-19 pandemic. Studies analyzing news reports and official data indicate that white individuals were responsible for over 75% of Asian hate crimes and incidents during this time period. Even this, white perpetrators commit over 75% of Asian hate crimes. Sneako is just making up shit, demonizing the black community and talking out of his ass, which is what white supremacists do. Spread bullshit propaganda against black people. They've been doing this since the beginning of time. How can he be this person and say his biggest influence was Malcolm X? That is crazy to me.
They were acting like it was all right, but it was majority black people doing it because, you know, if anyone was in New York, I don't have the stats right here, majority of homeless people and stuff, like if you go on the train, the crackhead, stuff like this, it's like, it's clear who. Like, let's be honest for a second. And people can't have that conversation because they don't want to be called racist. But that's who's going to be the one pushing a lady into the train tracks, is a crackhead who's homeless in the train station, who's the majority.
Crazy.
I mean, if you look at the videos.
Can I ask if what you're saying is true, that black folks are doing that? Let's say hypothetically it's true. What are the implications of that? And what's the...
It's not true though.
What do you see as it?
That maybe there's a bigger problem over here. Like maybe that the crime is not being addressed, or the black homeless rate and the black drug addicted rate in New York City is not being addressed properly because people don't want to be called racist, that Asians have to live in fear and Asians can't speak about what they know to be true because they don't also want to be called racist.
Yeah, so they have to live in fear like black folks, the potential hate crimes or, you know, for whatever it might be.
The Asian and black community ain't tight. I think that's probably the furthest apart community.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African-American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided. And I talk about this all the time, is that like for Asian Americans and for African Americans, we probably have one of the worst relationships between any community.
We don't really intersect or interact at all. We don't really live around each other at all. But there's a liquor store, beauty store, or nail salon in just about every black community that's owned by Asian people. So if they were so terrified of black people, they wouldn't have those stores in all black locations.
It could be homelessness, like you said, drug, but like black folks will go after him kind of thing.
Abba's not pushing back. Please push back. That is a lie.
I didn't know this until like a second ago. What was this like? So this is all I found on this. It says, and I'll put it up on the screen so you can see it. I'll pull it up on the.
That's what I just found.
Let's expand this a little bit, but you can read it yourself, and I will read it out loud.
Scholars have challenged this black Asian conflict narrative by highlighting that white perpetrators commit over 75% of anti-Asian hate crimes. I remember the stat. So what's considered a hate crime is also verbal. So if you call someone, if you yell at...
So there's actually a stat directly contradicting what Sneako said. Instead of taking a second to digest the stat and maybe say he was wrong, he's going to try to explain around it without any facts.
Somebody that's labeled as a hate crime. What was really important from hate crimes, because I think this statistic is manipulated, is violent attacks. The violent attacks, they are separate from a hate crime. That's why I think the stat's manipulated.
Okay. Do you have any statistical number that shows that black could be violent?
Yeah, I could look up the definition of hate crime.
No. You don't need the definition of hate crime. he's moving the goalposts now.
No. I'm asking if you have any study or anything like that that shows that, like, for violent crime, blacks are the offenders more.
For studies, no. But I went to the protests, and it was after Asian women were attacked, and I think it was like 2 or 3 that I went to. All of them were committed by blacks.
So Sneako is saying he went to 2 or 3 protests and he heard at the protests that black people committed that act. Even if that issue, which 100% could be a lie, he turned those 2 protests that he went to into black people commit the majority of hate crimes against the Asian community, which is false.
Okay, so here's the issue that I'm running into, right? Like I need something when I'm gonna make a statement like that.
You need something. You need statistics.
I'm not gonna ask 2 people. And the reason why I'm saying this, Sneako, is like you're doing again the exact thing that makes the whole Springfield cats and dogs story valid.
It's 100% anecdotal, where one person says something or experienced something, or somebody heard something from somebody else, so they repeat it, and all of a sudden it becomes the truth. Because if you repeat a lie a bunch of times, it eventually becomes the truth. That's literally what Sneako is doing against the black community. This is why I say Sneako is racist and a white supremacist.
Literally, right? Because I heard from 2, 3 people, and they said they do it, so that's it. And then you repeat it online, and it's like...
He repeats it online to his racist-ass community, yes.
Have implications. You're telling your audience that black folks are going to be more violent in these kinds of situations, especially against Asians. Be wary when the numbers don't really bear it. I know you've explained why you don't think that.
Well, once again, this hate crime statistic is not accurate.
What statistic or fact do you have to say it's not accurate? You can't just see a stat and say that's not accurate, but you don't have anything to counter it or correct it.
Because they don't have the definition.
The problem to me, the problem overall to the community is violent crime, is not verbal crime.
Okay, but you don't have any evidence.
Do you want to look up violent crime? We could look it up. We could look.
Sure. If there's evidence that violent crimes, there's a disproportionate amount, or is there large change? That's fine. And then,
as far as murders go, like white on white murder is higher than black on white murder, or black on black murder is higher than white on black murder. It's the same with Asians. Every community hurts or commits violence against their own community more than any other community does on said community.
If you're looking at this situation, and then you're even going in regards to the race, then you have to look at, okay, well, are these hate crimes on the basis of them being Asian? Is this a matter of like, there's an overrepresentation of black folks within the homeless community? Is it mostly drug addicts? Like my issue with these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, that's true. There's many reasons. There's many reasons why that happens. Maybe people argue that. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
First off, it's not true. But also, like Abba is trying to say, there would be nuance or context to these situations.
Yeah, I was saying that maybe there's a lot of reasons why there's an overwhelming amount of black homeless people. People say maybe it's gentrification, maybe it's white supremacy, maybe it's like the drugs that were poured into the black community making black people poor. But that's not what I'm saying. I was like, with this Stop Asian Hate thing, the majority of the actual attacks, it was black people. People were apprehensive to talk about it.
Says
I'm not
who?
saying all black people are violent. That's not the rhetoric here.
Well, you're kind of insinuating, or the what you take away from the comment when you say that is that this issue is something that's stemming mostly from black folks. That's what happens, right? And the issue I have is that there's no facts to back it up. There's no actual proof of it, and then you repeat it as if it's true because you talked to a couple people.
What do you consider to be what do you consider to be proof? Because earlier you started off by saying people in Dubai, like you compared pride parades in Israel to Dubai pooping and saying they're all doing this when it's all undercover. You're talking about text messages. You're talking about using the same evidence that I'm using here. You're using firsthand evidence from people that are reporting about this stuff. You haven't seen it firsthand, and you're blaming all of Dubai.
Right.
I'm comparing this. I'm using the same exact methods.
I don't think that's what happened. Me
City.
saying that some people go to Dubai and then are pooped on does not mean that most of the women who go to Dubai are getting pooped on. Does not mean that most influencers are doing these doo-doo contracts, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all. And if I were to say that, someone could ask, what proof do you have that it's most influencers or most of the women go to Dubai? And what I would look like is I would like to have egg on my face because I don't have any proof of that. I'm just going off anecdotal stories.
Okay.
That would be an incorrect statement. But when you say...
You made a pretty assertive claim earlier about that. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
My only claim earlier was that some people do that, and that's true. There are some people who go over there and take doo-doo contracts. That's a fact. The same way if your statement was just some of the people who commit the crime against Asian populations are black, that would also be true. But that's very different than saying most or vast majority. That is the complete... Now you're saying there's an overrepresentation, which insinuates that there's some other issues involved. Do you understand what I'm trying to get at?
Do you know the FBI crime statistic where it says although black people represent 12% of the American population, they commit over 50% of the violent crimes?
Okay. Yes.
What does that have to do with this? So you're trying to have a per capita conversation?
Blacks are overrepresenting violent crime in America based off the FBI crime.
Even if that's true, just because they might do that, does that mean that they do most of the mass shootings? No. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is not to do like white versus black. The reason why I'm bringing that up is just because they're represented or overrepresented in some segments does not mean that they commit all the different crimes to the same extent.
Correct, like school shootings, PDF, sexual assaults. Those acts are perpetrated by mostly white people, or at least white people lead the category in those things.
I didn't say that either. That's what I was saying, like violent crime petty crime on Asian people in New York City, which is like shoving someone to the train tracks or beating someone up. Overwhelmingly, that's going to be from violent black crime. But yeah,
he's changing what he said. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't go back at this point. This debate is like 3 hours. But he said most of the hate crimes that happened against the Asian community during the pandemic were perpetrated by black people, but nobody wants to say it because they don't want to be called racist. That's what he said. Now he's changing to what he said about small and petty crimes and da-da-da-da-da. But that's not what he said initially.
School shootings, a lot of the stuff that does happen from white people. White and black crime is different.
Yes, but you're using the crime of disproportionality with black or African Americans as a way to say, well, see, if they're overrepresented here, then it tracks that what I said earlier is also a true statement. But that's not the way stats work. No one's going to quote that stat and say that means that black people do more. You're using that stat number. That's one. Two, even when we get into stats, I think it's always good to know these different markers, but you have to break down the markers even beyond that. That one number in isolation does not tell you the entire story. So let's see if that fixes it.
Do you see this? This is in 2018, Asian on black violence was 0.1% of violent incidences against blacks. Black on Asian violence was 27.5% of violent incidents against Asians. Asians make up around 6% of the population. Blacks make up 30% of the population. So overwhelmingly...
Hold on, I have to actually see if I can. Sorry, guys, the stream's going to be a little fucked up for a second.
And this is from Federal Bureau of Justice Statistics, National Crime Victimization.
So now Sneako has changed it from hate crimes to just regular crime.
The whites are at 3 million, 0.5, blacks are at 5. Whites overwhelmingly do it against whites.
Every race commits more crimes against their own race than anybody else.
So 27.5% is overrepresentative of if they make up 13% of the population. That's an over.
But that's not a majority. That's not the majority of crimes against the Asian community.
It's disproportionate.
Asians make up around 6% of the population.
Am I losing my mind?
I'm not disagreeing that there's differences in these numbers. I don't know what that has to do with the number that you had earlier. Like these, I think you're pointing to different things right now.
Now it changed from black people commit the majority of hate crimes against the Asian community to black people are overrepresented in crime statistics. Therefore, they commit more crimes against the Asian community. That's not even what the conversation initially was. Sneako was just wrong and refuses to admit that he was wrong and generalize a racist, hateful statement against black people to demonize us. He could just say he was wrong, but he's not going to because he's a contrarian.
Black violence on Asians is 27.5%. It's okay. Look, so whites make make up 62% of the population, and they commit 24% of the.
That's a completely different discussion than saying black people committed most of the hate crimes against the Asian community during the pandemic. He's having a completely different discussion now.
Blacks make up 13%, and they're committing more, 27.5% of attacks on Asians. That's disproportionate. So that means the majority of violent attacks, or it's compared to the amount of white and black people in America, the majority was more black people doing it than white people doing it. And that compared to 13% of the population.
He is fucking doing lyrical gymnastics trying to make this make sense for his argument when it just doesn't.
Population compared to the 62% of the population.
2018 details.
If you believe this, it's coming from the Bureau of Justice Statistics National Crime Victimization Survey, 2 years before COVID.
So there's 182 violent incidents, and then COVID. It seems like a quarter of them are from Asians, a quarter of them are from black folks, and a quarter of them are for whites. Is that fair?
Well, the majority is 27.5%. The majority is from black people. Also, you have to factor in how many black people exist. Like, it's because black people.
No, Sneako, you're doing something. You're doing something that's very wrong here. Your first statement, I'm going to repeat it to you. This was your first statement. Your first statement was this: vast majority of violent crimes against Asians are done by blacks. Then you show me something that shows that blacks only could do a quarter of the violent crime. You've literally contradicted your.
If you're saying 27%, that doesn't match his statement of black people committed most of the hate crimes against the Asian community.
Initial statement.
Still a majority. It's
no.
Majority right here.
It's a slight majority. That's not vast majority. Vast majority.
Okay, sure. So then slight majority, not vast majority. I stand corrected. But this is 2 years before COVID. And
so go to 20 or 21.
Was there a spike at COVID? Did they all of a sudden triple everybody?
Right.
Yeah, that's what Asian hate was about. There was more crimes committed against Asians, especially.
Pull it up, Sneako.
Because they were blaming COVID-19 on Chinese people and Asians.
Pull it up, because the stat that Abba just pulled up, that looked up, the same one that I found. During the pandemic, during COVID, white people committed 75% of the hate crimes against the Asian community. But Sneako will not take that stat. He will find any other stat to try to justify his statement that black people committed the majority of hate crimes against the Asian community, which isn't true.
Okay. So go to the
imagine how much more.
Go to the National Crime Survey and then pull up 2021 or 22, and let's see that spike, and then you should be able to confirm it, because your number does not agree with your statement. Again, these are very different.
Majority. I mean, I guess so. Then slight, not vast. One, there's a majority, and two, it's coming. Yeah, I don't know. You're not factoring in the fact that blacks, it says here, are 15% of the population, and whites are 62. Just based off that's far more. So, do you understand how the ratio would work?
If you're now going to a per capita conversation, that's a different one, and we can have that conversation. But that's not what you're talking about when you claim the fact that you claimed wasn't true. Now, if you want to have a per capita conversation, that's a different thing. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, even without that, it's still a majority.
Okay. No, it's not. It's a minority. A majority would mean that it's more than 50%.
It's more than white people. It's more than white people. I mean.
Okay. So this is probably a second issue. The words you mean don't mean what you say. When you say these people, no, hold on. If you say no,
people, sure.
It's important, because when people are hearing this, they're understanding something different than what you intend. If you want to say black folks commit some of these crimes and it's a little bit more than white folks, that's fine. You can say that, because that's what's true based off the numbers you gave me. That's not the same thing as the majority.
Okay. So more black people are committing most of the violent crimes against Asian people.
No, the statement would be, well, I can answer you. So
I want to hear you saying.
Black people are the group that may committed the most out of all the other groups. The most is not black folks. Do you understand the difference between those two things?
Compared to they're on the top of the list.
Yes, that's different. So here's a statement that
out of all races, black people are committing most of the violent crimes against Asians.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a difference between that and what you're saying has a different implication than what you mean it. And also, what's the difference? If the difference is 2 percentage points, that's a very small.
Yeah. What was it? Black people 27% and white people 25%, I think.
Right. Like the way you're speaking, this is how you spoke when you were talking about that Stop Asian Hate. You're like, yo, black people, vast majority of them are the ones who are hurting Asians. That's a problem. No one wants to talk about it. It's like, well, no, they're almost nearly identical to Asians and whites. That's the truth. So the narrative you're building is not accurate.
While being, even though there's 1/4 of the population is black compared to white, factoring that in as well. And we could even bring up specific to New York City as well.
So again, if you want to talk per capita, we can talk about that, but that's not the same.
That's a completely different discussion.
We have to understand that's a different thing. Listen, the per capita conversation is a different one. I just wanted to explain to you that, like, when I hear some of the way that you talk, and like you say you care about these issues, I believe you, but the way you engage with it when it's not factual or
It's
not
too hyperbolic.
it's not just hyperbolic. It's like you don't do the research necessary. You don't say the right things. So you're saying things that you don't mean, or you're saying things that you don't even know are true. And people are just listen. And like I heard you earlier say that we have an influence. I agree with you that we have an influence. But if we have an influence, that requires you to do some due diligence. And I just don't feel like that's the case even in this conversation with some of the stuff that you're saying. And like the downstream effects of it, I know you understand because you talked about how Haitians are marginalized. You talked about the dog story and everything. I'm like, I feel you. It's not fair that they're being scapegoated, but you are kind of doing the exact same thing in so many different ways.
Because the only minority community that Sneako cares about is the ones that he's from. So he cares about the Haitian community. He cares about, I guess, the Filipino community or the Asian community because that's his parents. He does not care about black people. I don't know if he cares about the Latino community. I know for a fact he's demonized the black people just as much as like Nick Fuentes.
You'll talk about I want to defend my people, and I think it's admirable. I love the fact that you're down for. Let me just make sure everything's fine. I love the fact that you're down for your Haitian people. You're down for your Filipinos. You don't want to see these people be abused. But I feel like the same way you don't want them to be abused, like you engage in a lot of that for others.
Right. I see what you're saying, but I don't think you're seeing the bigger point, which is that the majority of people are, I think so many people that were at these protests and part of Stop Asian Hate, they were not looking at the fact, or they were acting as if it was proportionate, and it wasn't. It was disproportionately black people committing those violent crimes. And I was pointing that out because people are afraid to speak about that because they don't want to be called racist by looking at statistics.
He literally went back to the same exact point. Sneako is beyond help. Sneako's like Anakin. When he went to the dark side, he was just lost to the dark side. And Obi-Wan was fighting, trying to save his old friend, but that Anakin was gone.
You were the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness.
That's Sneako right now. Albin's trying to save this man. Albin's trying to bring him back to the correct side of history. But he just can't. Sneako is gone, man.
I agree. I don't like, here's my thing. When I talk about crime, right? I don't like that people are like, yo, black people have no problems. Never. It's okay to have that. If you're also honest, Sneako, a lot of people don't engage in this conversation in good faith, especially on the right-wing side. So you end up becoming kind of a bit of a useful idiot because, and I'm not saying that you are,
For that.
but they'll be like, yeah, Sneako's fucking base. I love it when he talks about this, about minority with the minority face. It's really great that we have somebody, but behind closed doors, if they get their fucking way, they want you to have no rights. So I'm always very reticent to like, jump on that side either. I think there's a middle ground where you just talk about the facts.
And we shouldn't have emotional arguments regardless. Like the same reason white people on the right have emotional arguments and be like, yeah, black people suck. It's like, well, leftists also have that argument. Like, no, I love trans people. Like we should remove biases from what's factual. That's what I want to get to.
I agree with that.
He's saying something and doing the complete opposite. He just said we should remove biases from facts while he's being biased and ignoring facts to prove an argument that's false. Sneako is just a hypocritical contradiction of a person. He's just a walking contradiction. And honestly, this type of baseless claim against black people is nothing new. It's just pushing more racist propaganda against us. And the sad part is a lot of people won't check facts. They'll take whatever Sneako said at face value. And now the new truth for those people is that black people commit hate crimes against the Asian community. And that's just not true. What Sneako did is dangerous and racist. Instead of actually examining what those stats said and realize that white people committed 75% of the hate crimes against the Asian community during the pandemic. But that doesn't fit the narrative for him and his racist friends. But shout out to my channel members. Thank you so much for supporting. And thanks for watching. Y'all let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Also, make sure you check out the next video. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for behind the scenes and life stuff. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.